subtle state of being. And if you've colored it with bodhicitta, you've got all the right causes and conditions, you will enter into water, poured into water is one description. This undescribable thing, which is the direct perception of emptiness. Yeah, seeing God. There's all these words for that experience of the sublime. It's actually, you are looking at your world thinking it is exactly this, and then in meditation, because you've trained enough and slowed it down enough and so on, you get a glimpse. Everything that was like this disappears as a thing, and you disappear as a thing, because you are also a projection, and you are also empty of having this nature. You no longer have a perception of self in that moment. And this moment can last a few minutes, 20 minutes, 15, I don't know. Okay? I can tell you what the books say.
Would you say that's the experience of absolute bodhicitta?
Absolutely, I would say that. That's actually, remember I said ultimate and relative bodhicitta. So in that experience, you can't be thinking, I wish to get enlightened for the sake of, because then that's a relative thing. After that experience, you can have that. Yeah? And so what happens after that experience, so if you can imagine, just imagine that there is enough fuel in your practice, enough karma, to force the blankness of what you could be, to have, for a few minutes, a complete and utter experience of absolute all, colored with bliss. I don't know if you've ever had a dream similar to this, or some hint that you're close to this. But if you're listening to these words and you're getting some meaning, you've got some seeds for it, they say. So,
orgasm or something like that?
you could say it's an orgasm, spiritual orgasm. No, it could be something like this. But whatever the idea is for you, of being completely gone as that thing you call yourself, and completely and utterly be submerged, or it's hard to describe, because it's not a thing in relative world. It's something not in the relative world. So if you can imagine, you are completely in that space, you don't even know. It is just this bliss. And then, because of the habituation that we've had, you come back from that experience and you begin to realize, I just had that experience. You begin to label. Your mind begins to come back and speed up. At that time, you have these 4 Arial truths. At that time, you realize 4 things, and this is what the Buddha first taught. And the analysis is, the first of those things is that life is suffering. That things are really suffering, and they don't have to be. You see the suffering for what it is, not for what you thought it was. You see it for me, not for her. Yeah? Does that make sense? You see, this suffering. Everything here will end. Everything was produced. Everything was caused, and it has that thing in it, and it causes pain, and it's unnecessary. The next realization is a couple of ideas you have about that, is that you lit the match. You were the one responsible for the suffering. You realize it has a cause, and the cause was never out there. The cause was always your mind projecting onto it, and you see it in this post-meditation experience. And you're like, life is suffering, and it's got a cause. Something produced it, and it wasn't what I thought it was. That you're involved in it. The next realization you have is, it can stop. You catch that you witnessed what's called the Dharmakaya. You saw the Buddha directly in that meditation. You saw a whole bunch of things, and your mind begins to name them and label them and give them shape. And you realize that it doesn't have to be that way, that there really, really, truly is freedom from that suffering. and you have that realization, and that's called a cessation. It's the first real cessation, the first time that doubt disappears from anybody's practice. Am I really doing this? You know how we take aspirin and we think sometimes it'll take away the headache, sometimes it won't. If I really practice Buddhism, will it really get me free? Sometimes it will, you know, sometimes I'm still suffering, and we're not sure. It's like taking aspirin. At this point, you know for sure that the active ingredient for removing suffering, you've seen it. Nothing can shake you from it. Before that, it was intellectual. And at this point, it's a knowing. It's like imagining what it would be like to drive and actually driving. It's imagining what it would be like to have sex for the first time or having sex for the first time. It's a difference. You know. Yeah? It's imagining what it would like to have a lover, be in love, and actually be in love. Very different experience. So the third of the Noble Truths is that, wow, there really is freedom from suffering. And I saw it for real, no doubt. And then the next one is, there is a path, there's a way to get through the roadblocks to get me out of this suffering. Yeah, so they're the 4 ideal truths. That's what individual analysis means. So nirvana, getting out of suffering, means you stop your mental afflictions because you have figured out these 4 things post that direct perception of emptiness. Yeah? And there's a couple of nirvanas. There's all this in the text. You'll find nirvana with something left over, with nothing left over, nirvana which does not stay, which means in the extreme of a cyclic existence, or lower peace, meaning a lower nirvana, which is to answer your question. I don't want to go into it. We don't have time. You think that freedom from suffering means freedom from suffering, right? But you enter it in different ways. Let's leave it at that. To know how to get free from suffering, to know and recognize the suffering, you need to catch the mistake. And we talked about it on Tuesday. This is called the gaccha, the thing that we deny. That this idea of no self, no ego, blah, blah, blah. Here's some real meaning about what it means, not whatever ideas. When I first heard no self, I was so confused. He said, am I not here? Am I not a self? Hector's talking. There is a Hector talking. Don't tell me there isn't. You're all crazy if you think that there isn't, you know. There is a nominal self, but there is no self-existing thing. Yeah? There's no self the way we think a self exists. And that's true for the pen. There's no self of pen coming out. Because if there was, the dog must see pen, not chew toy. There was no self-existent I hate you, there was no self-existent disgust to the words I hate you, because they don't carry that meaning. They're not in there. Yeah? The gaccha is believing that those words, and you meant that, and you're terrible. The feelings I have, you did it to me. That's the mistake. That's the gaccha. So that's what we're looking to find. So here's a metaphor story that they use in this text and the commentary to explain how we see the world mistaken all the time. We think that I'm offended because of what she did or what he did, or I got lucky because of what I worked or whatever. And it's not the way things are operating. If you analyze the nature of the world, if you look beyond that, you can intellectually see something else is causing every single one of your realities. They're your realities, you're causing them. You can get that intellectually, and then instantly when someone yells at you or crosses the street wrong, you go back into your habit. Freedom from that, nirvana is freedom from that. Right? So they have a story here that I'll share with you about how to identify someone that has had the direct perception of emptiness and then doesn't have it anymore, because after you have those 4 real truths, you're still in samsara, meaning things still hurt you. You just know that they're not true. You know that she said something, I got hurt. You know that the hurt came from something else I did in the past. It couldn't have possibly, you know this for sure, but it still appears that way.
Sorry, but right, that doesn't mean that it's not true. But the thing is that it doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means that it's not true the way we are.
It's not ultimately true, that's what I mean.
Right.
True is a metaphor for definite, real, out there, solid. It holds a nature from its own side. That's what I'm synonym for truth. Because you got the ultimate truth. It's a relative truth. How's that?
It functions.
It functions, yeah. Cool?
Exactly, yeah, it functions, okay.
But in the relative sense, not in the ultimate, there's nothing in that thing that makes that thing that thing. Yeah?
Sure.
Cool. So we got that. You got the concept of emptiness. You got the concept of after emptiness, things still come back and appear the way they used to. You got that? So here's a little story. I think it's here. Yeah, okay, so this is a magician, yeah, in ancient India, and a stick. And so he gets a crowd of people around to watch his magic trick. And he has this potion, and in this potion, did I do that? Yeah. In this potion, he can make people see something else other than the stick. The stick is really what's there. But with this potion, ignorance, yeah, he's going to make them see a cow, yeah? So, they are now forced to see a cow because he sprinkled this dust on everybody. Everybody present, so they are seeing a cow, but it's a stick, right? But they think it's a cow. They're all under the influence of this ignorance, this potion. So it's a stick. So here comes a dude that was not there before when the dust got sprinkled. What does he see?
Stick.
Correct. He sees a stick. So this is a metaphor for the people. Actually, let's continue the metaphor. What does this dude see?
Stick.
A cow. He sees a cow, but he knows it's a stick.
Correct. He sees a cow, but he knows it's fake. He knows that there's a stick somewhere. So he is forced to see a cow because he got the dust. But he knows, because he did the trick and he was there before, that it's a stick. But he can't help himself. He sees a cow. This is the metaphor for we are the crowd. If you've not seen emptiness directly, we mistake a cow for a stick. We mistake this nominal reality for the ultimate thing it really is. So this is us in samsara, constantly seeing things mistakenly. Yeah, we've got the dust. We were born with the dust. It's that creature. Yeah? The magician is a metaphor for somebody who has seen emptiness directly, has had that experience, came out, had the four aerial truths, and then that reality is still forced, that nominal reality is still forced on them. They can't help but see a cow, but for the first time in their life, they know for a fact that it's not really a cow. That he's seeing a cow because of some mistake, but it's not really a cow. But they still have to deal with the cow, and cow poo, and all the other stuff. Yeah? Okay. The third dude, the one with the stick, is someone, it's a metaphor for someone who is holding the direct perception of emptiness. Okay? Someone who is abiding in the direct perception of it. So they might be in that moment at that time. Does that make sense? So that helps you understand that. The first time I learned that, it was so weird. Here's some food for thought.
What does the cow see?
Here's some food for thought. This is for you to question your reality. So there's many schools that say things are dependent on their parts, on your perception, on causes and conditions. So let's take the idea of parts. One or many, this idea of one or many. Is the Lego man a Lego man from its own side?
No.
Is it made out of parts, little Lego man arms and legs and so on? Right? How can you say it's a Lego man if it's made up of parts? How can you say it really exists? When I take away the hand, does it become a less Lego man? Is it not a Lego man anymore?
It's a handless Lego man.
It's a handless Lego man, but it's still a Lego man, right? If I take two of the arms off, it's an armless. You won't do you any arm. Lego man. I just thought of that. No.
You had that joke ready.
So just think about this. At what point, if we are projecting reality, why out of all the things, and then forget the man, what about the head, the top of the head and the bottom of the head and the inside of the head? Yeah, so the question here is, if all these things have parts, can you say something really exists? Because you are forever switching between the top of the part, the bottom of the part, that's it, and then something is filling in that blank. What is? And I'm suggesting something in our monkey mind, that little karma there. That's just food for thought. Here's the last part I want to share with you. At the end of all these commentaries, someone makes I can't say it's a mistake. They get into this debate where the Maitreya, who's supposed to be the future Buddha, or a lord, or a real being, or something, they make the comment that he is already enlightened or something. And so they hint at Tantra in this text, which is Sutra, and Tantra is the secret teachings, where these ideas escalate to really color your entire world in a way that's magical almost. Once you've habituated these ideas, they force you to have a different experience of this world that speeds up your race to freedom. So they say that the secret teachings are mentioned in the text, so it's okay to mention this. So I just want to give you a flavor. Maitreya, future Buddha, his name means love. It's two types of love here: the giving of something that makes someone joyful, and the love that wants to protect another person. So these two kinds of love. There's a couple of elements to make Tantra work, so I want to leave you with this so you can get that in your mind for the next classes. So first of all, it should be spoken by a highly realized or exceptional spiritual being, and the practitioner of Tantra must be leading a very pure life for precisely that reason that I told you before. If things are blank, then miracles can really happen. If things don't have a nature from their own side, and anything is possible, then anything is possible. Then to produce the most magnificent of things, you must have the most magnificent, leading a very pure life, most magnificent of seeds. And if you understand emptiness deeply, and karma and emptiness and how it works, and that was the last lines in this thing, you could see yourself produce the most magnificent tantric experience. And this, in the West, it's weird to talk about this, but it's because we got so much weird associations. So they say there's three things you need to really turn. You don't go seeking a tantric experience, by the way. You don't go seeking a magical experience of this. It happens to you because you are a master at the open teachings, because you've understood the three principal teachings deeply. You understand renunciation, you've gone digging, you've made efforts, real efforts, to stop your habitual patterns, to remove your suffering for the sake of others. You've made real progress in that. You don't beat yourself up over it. You actually take your time and you began to meditate and you investigate, etc., etc., etc. You master the three principal paths: wisdom, bodhicitta, and renunciation, and Tantra will be forced upon you. You can't avoid it. Magic must happen to you if you know what really is making the world work. So, master the open teachings, some realizations through her, and then vowed morality makes it even faster. In practice, sorry I'm running a little bit late again. The three jewels is what we started. They're the real refuge here. Understanding the emptiness of a Buddha's mind is the same as yours. Understanding the idea of emptiness that lets you understand how things truly function, and seeking out any teachers that have had contact with or are in the experience. So my suggestion for practice, if you want to turn these things into practice, think of the most aggravating thing and also think of the most beautiful thing in your world, and investigate your world in a different way. Like, it's hard because we're in patterns, but like I said, your subconscious, now I'm calling it karma, runs your world, and you're not even in control of it. You think you are. You think you're in control of your world. But I had no control when your head cocked over to have a different experience. I had some perception of control the second time, the second thought after I wanted to yell at you, you know? And sometimes even that stops you. You can't stop yourself from doing stupid things. That will, if everything you do must be forced upon you later, you would change your world radically. So what I'm saying is, investigate your world, see what pattern, as if you're a doctor, right? Observe where you go for refuge. Yeah, everyone's drinking lattes, that's my refuge. But what is it? Is it, do you really think you're going to get happy getting money? Do you really think, and this is a why in a serious way. because it should alter the way you behave around life. Contemplate wisdom. It's the idea that whenever you're in a situation, this can be completely different if you're in an unfavorable situation. The idea that it doesn't have to be that way, and then with some peace in your heart, you go, it is this way now. I must have done it to someone in some degree before, because it's coming from me. That's totally counterintuitive. Then you begin to do what's called correct action. You then behave towards that thing like you would like your world to be the change you want to be in the world. That's where Gandhi meant. That's wisdom. Be the change you want to see in the world. Meaning, I feel anger coming that way. I know intellectually it doesn't come that way. It appears that way. It really functions that way. But I know with all my counterintuitive understanding that if I yell back, I'm getting more yelling later. If I do something distasteful, I'm getting more distasteful later. The only way to get bliss and love and happiness is to give bliss and love and happiness. You become what you habituate. So then choose a new way. Before you escalate those patterns, whatever they are for you, just pick one. Before you turn the feeling into an escalator and you feed it, just choose and you make a decision, you will do a new thing. Change the pattern. When you get success with 1, 2, or 3, and you've got to relax a little, the karmas will come, then you will have confidence until you have a direct experience. Sorry, I'm late. Here we go. Before we finish, we have to dedicate. And then, remember I told you last week about a dear friend of ours whose 5-year-old daughter is in hospital. I've got a picture of her, so don't freak out. And she's had 3 more episodes since, and she's like intensive, and they're looking for a heart donor for her. And so her dad, who's a most beautiful creature, and her brother and her mum asked that we can all keep her in our thoughts. So whatever goodness we thought of here, you want to practice some bodhicitta, selflessly give it away to that family and anybody that can help that little girl. Okay? So here we go.
Sashi Pukir Jishin Metoptra Mira Vinchin Indegam Padi Sanghe Shindu Mite Vargi Dropen Namda Shimla Supasho Iyam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami Gewadihi Gewokun Sunam Yeshe Soksoshin Sunam Yeshe Lejunwe Dampakuni Topasho.
And be happy that you've got the capacity to spend time thinking about these things. You are so close if we are so close if we have the leisure to think about these things. So it's Melong Sima. Send it to her if you can.
Mm-hmm. She's beautiful.
Yeah, she's fun. Thank you. Sorry it was a little late. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
See you on Tuesday. We get to actually meditate.
Boring. About time.
I'll take a picture and send it to you.